Our quote today comes from a husband who said, "My wife accused me of stealing her thesaurus. Not only was I shocked, I was aghast, I was appalled and dismayed." Today is a great feast day of the memorial of St. Raymond of Penyafort, one of the greatest Dominican saints, one of the great lights of the 13th century, a man who lived to be 100 years of age, remarkable for that period of time in the 13th century. A great priest, and then eventually chosen to be the head of the Dominican order, and even a bishop for a couple of years before he had to step down because of health issues. But St. Raymond of Penyafort, born in the year 1175 and died in the year 1275, born in Spain, of Spanish nobility near Barcelona. At the age of 20, he was already a very successful philosophy teacher at the university in Barcelona. By the age of 30, he had received his double doctorate in canon law and civil law. And it was at this time that he helped to found a religious order called the Mercedarians. And the Mercedarians were a religious order to help ransom Christian slaves in the Holy Land and other territories that were governed by the Muslims at the time, to help free Christian slavery and end some of the Christian persecution. Then at the age of 47, he was introduced to the Dominican order, and there at the age of 47 discovered his true vocation as a Dominican, so certainly the patron saint of sort of what we call delayed vocation, something very common in the church today, people discovering their vocation a little later in life. Because of his brilliance, he was chosen by Pope Gregory IX to come to Rome to be his canon lawyer, and it was Pope Gregory that gave St. Raymond the huge job of gathering all the different decrees and laws of the church and putting them under one volume. So it took many years to do this, but it became really the canon law of the church for the next 700 years until 1917, when that code of canon law came out. Then, of course, in 1983, the new code of canon law came out. And canon law is really how the teachings of the church are applied in particular things like the liturgy or the sacraments or marriage. So canon law is a very important part of our church. Of course, the greatest law in the code of canon law is the last one, which says the greatest law of the church is the salvation of souls. That is the most important part of the church, is to help save souls. At the age of 60, he was chosen to be an archbishop, but again had to resign after 2 years, and then chosen by the Dominicans to be the head of the order. So he was the third superior general of the Dominican order. And he took this very seriously by visiting on foot all the Dominican areas of Europe. And then after that, he spent really the next 35 years of his life continuing to try to evangelize and bring the gospel to the Jews and the Muslims in Spain and other parts of Europe. And he would teach classes in Arabic and Hebrew to the Dominican seminarians to help them in their work of bringing the gospel to Muslims and to the Jews. He also was really the one who inspired St. Thomas Aquinas to write his Summa Contra Gentiles, which was the Summa to the Gentiles, to help again in the work of spreading the gospel and evangelization. One of the most interesting stories was the miracle that occurred when he was on the island of Majorca with the King of Spain. I believe his name was James I, and St. Raymond was his confessor and spiritual director, but James I brought his concubine with him to Majorca, and St. Raymond said, "No, it's a sin, you must separate," and the king was unwilling to do that, and so because of that, St. Raymond said, "Well, I'm going back to Barcelona." But the king ordered all the captains of the ships, and nobody was allowed to give him the ride back to Barcelona by ship, and so, according to many eyewitnesses, St. Raymond tied his staff to his cloak, and he threw the cloak in the water and used the staff and as a sail, and apparently covered 160 miles in about 6 hours. So not only is a patron saint of lawyers and canon lawyers, but he's a patron saint of jet skiers, apparently, at least unofficially, and patron saint of water skiers. And they say that when he landed on the coast of Barcelona, a huge crowd witnessed this. So again, it's a fascinating miracle in the life of St. Raymond of Penyafort, who was able to travel from the island of Majorca back to the mainland in this way. He died at the age of 100. 2 kings attended his funeral, the King of Castile and Aragon. Again, one of the great saints of the 13th century, and one of Bishop Keating's favorite saints. And as many of you know, Bishop Keating was a canon lawyer from Chicago. He was chosen to be the bishop of Arlington Diocese. I was privileged to be ordained by him. And he established our neighboring parish, St. Raymond's, named after his favorite saint, the patron saint of canon lawyers. So we pray today, St. Raymond of Penyafort, pray for us.